Today we are here on the public test server for patch 8.0 to talk about the sniper class and his best build setup for siege mode. Now, siege mode is the hardest content this game has ever seen in my opinion. I think it is harder than lethal difficulty was on launch with tight formation. And I also think it is definitely harder than absolute difficulty has ever been, even with the prestige perk update. Now, as far as perks go for sniper, this class is exceptional at surviving, dishing out major AoE damage with 30-second melt-a-bombs, and dealing massive boss damage with his block knife, which is unfortunately his best boss damage in the game is currently linked to his melee. But the perks we take are Melee Mastery. Melee damage increases by 20% against Majora's level and higher enemies. Again, Melee is our primary damage against bosses on this class. It is his best cleave. It is his best single target damage. It does a tremendous amount, especially when we combine it with things like Tactical Ambush out of our cloak using Emperor's Grace and Purification, which we'll get into shortly. Now, the next perk I would take here is Adaptability. Reloading while having low ammo or manually activating Camo Cloak increases melee damage by 25% for 10 seconds. 10 seconds is a long time in this game. 25% is a pretty chunky buff. This just means we burst down bosses that much faster, and sometimes you are like the only class that can properly save an entire group from a neurothrope on the ground or things like that, because you're the only guy that can get in because you have the Purification Emperor's Grace Cloak combo. And then next we take Iron Grip. Weapon spread and recoil are reduced by 20%, and range damage against terminus level enemies is increased by 15% for both sniper rifles and stalker bolt rifles. I do primarily take a stalker bolt rifle on this class alongside maybe a bolt carbine for chaos, but overall I just think the stalker bolt rifle performs the best, and we'll get into that more in a bit, but for now this is the perk I take. Now, as far as team perks go, these two don't even exist to me. It is just the squad renewal here. A headshot kill restores ability charge by 10% for any squad member. This perk is so fundamental to this class properly functioning that I really think these other two need a massive buff if they ever want to get even close to this, and this also benefits your teammates because ability charge in this game, or I should say ability recharge, is not super common. It's pretty common on this class, but like it's pretty hard to find for some of the other ones, and this is just an exceptional perk for everybody, and especially you. Now, Purification. Manually activating Camo Cloak removes negative status effects and restores all contested health. This is probably the best perk in this entire tree. Alongside the squad renewal, this perk just says you get to live. It is, if honestly, kind of overpowered. Maybe not overpowered, but it is fundamental to how this class functions. In fact, these other two perks need such a massive buff to ever get even close to what Purification can do for you. This one will let you survive and save HP from like using a stim on attacks that another class will just take all of their contested health for, and there's really nothing they can do about it, but you can just hit Q, you're gone, and if you properly manage your cloak, you're pretty much never going to die with this class. Now, here on the gear tree, some people like Guardian Protocol. This perk isn't very good, mainly because you have to give up your damaging perks here with Targeted Shot and Tactical Ambush. And we do take Tactical Ambush here, which is the first melee attack that breaks Camo Cloak, deals 150% more damage. This is just your primary boss damage on this class, especially against Hellbrutes. Really, the only thing this class is really good at killing with his gun is a Neurothrope and like maybe a Carnifex if it like decides to park its head right in front of you to blast away with a Stalker Bolt rifle or maybe like a last few sword bolt carbine. But really, Tactical Ambush is just far more consistent, far easier to pull off, and it's just overall better, and it's also like an exceptional cleave ability for burst damage, because really there isn't a lot of cleave this class has. He does not have a ton of AoE outside of his Melt-a-Bomb and outside of his Shadow Stab Tactical Ambush, so this will let you hit 3 bosses at once in like, you know, a perfect scenario, which happens more often than you think, and you're also one of the best classes to survive when all of your teammates are dead, which is, you know, that's a pretty good thing, especially in this mode where people definitely die a lot. Now, the next perk I take here is Persistence. When Camo Cloak deactivates, you take 20% less health damage, do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. Health damage reduction in this game is really good. You're going to be deactivating your cloak all the time, and when you deactivate your cloak for the first time after, like, you know, cloaking, that is when you're at your most vulnerable, because that is when your cloak is down and you no longer have your purification option up. So having a health damage reduction here is really, really good, and knockback resist is super valuable in this game, and this is some of the only knockback resist this class actually has the opportunity for. So overall, I'd say always take Persistence. Some people like Lingering Concealment, but this perk really does nothing for you when you're using a Shadow Stab, because, you know, by the time you break your cloak for your Shadow Stab, you've already done the damage you want to do, and that extra 2 seconds is not really doing a ton for you. And also, whatever benefit you're getting from this, for the most part, on like an instantaneous breakage of your cloak, you'd be getting from Emperor's Grace, which we'll get into shortly. So overall, I just take Persistence. I find this one works a lot better. I've taken this one to like wave 18 on True Solo before we got timed out on this guy, and really this perk just does a ton of work for you. It's pretty deceptively good. It only really functions for like 8 seconds instead of 10, mainly because Emperor's Grace is active for 2 seconds, and Emperor's Grace Invulnerability operates as like a guaranteed, like you don't exist in the game for 2 seconds is basically what this perk says. Like the 2 seconds here of invulnerability is not just damage, it's also stagger. Anything can hit you for those 2 seconds and you won't get knocked back at all, which makes it that much better with your purification combo and your tactical ambush combo. So I'd take this. And also ambush here, this perk sucks. Cooldown 25 seconds. It could be a cooldown 5 seconds and it would still suck. It's just not worth it. As far as signature perks go, evasion, terrible perk. Emergency override, good perk if it wasn't in this tree. Pattern of excellence, OP. I mean, it's really that simple. Pattern of Excellence is just one of the best perks in the entire game. These 2 signature perks need a huge buff if they ever want to be anywhere close to this one. And I don't even feel like Pattern of Excellence is that overpowered, to be honest. I know I call things OP in this game all the time. It's really more of like an exaggeration sometimes. This one might actually be kind of close to overpowered. Okay, maybe I'm coping. But performing 3 consecutive headshots restores equipment charge by 1. Cooldown is 30 seconds. This is the best equipment recharge in the game. Melt bombs are super, super good in siege mode because there are just so many enemies. This one can come out to like, the value you get from this perk is frankly astonishing. And I would just always take this. And these 2 other perks are kind of fun sometimes, I guess, but I haven't touched them in months, to be honest, because they're just not that good. Now, as far as prestige perks go, Emperor's Grace. When Camo Cloak activates, you become invulnerable to damage for 2 seconds. This is a must pick. This is just one of the best perks of this entire tree. This is so much synergy with your purification and other things like your shadow stab, because like I said before, this invulnerability makes it so you don't exist in the game for 2 seconds. You can literally hit Q in like an entire Hellbrute wave and you'll just vanish. You'll take no damage for 2 seconds. You can roll out. You can get out of things that no other class could possibly get out of. This perk is incredible, especially in siege mode where there is just so much shit that is attacking you from all directions. Always take this. And also always take versatile precision. Performing a kill with your secondary weapon restores 15% of your primary weapon's ammo. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This just makes our ammo economy that much better. I pretty much always pick this. You know, there's really no reason not to, because the other perks here aren't super epic anyways. Now, Indomitable Spirit. While performing a gun strike, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. Now, previously, in the old PTS for 7.0, this was actually the version of the tactical perk, or I should say, this was actually Adrenaline Boost here, which is on parry, block, or dodge. You take no heavy hits, and you lose no control upon the, what the fuck am I saying here? You do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. It used to be this perk. They realized that's kind of OP on a class that's not supposed to be a melee class, and they made it Indomitable Spirit. But what Indomitable Spirit will let you do is, while performing a gun strike, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. This just lets you gun strike a face-checking Biovore. Now, Biovores in this game are overtuned. I'll say that. They do too much for an Extremis, in my opinion. But a lot of times when you're in melee with them, they will come and face check you. They will stagger you constantly. And there are times where it is literally impossible to gun strike an enemy without Indomitable Spirit. You will get staggered. You will 100% get staggered by some of the loop attacks of a Biovore. This prevents that from happening. This lets you keep your flow up, and this will save your life. Indomitable Spirit, incredible perk. Really, any version of knockback resist in this game is pretty top tier. This perk, like, not using this perk is fundamentally worse than having this perk. It just gives you more options. That's the biggest thing it does. It lets you shoot things you otherwise couldn't. Now, Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 15 seconds. This one has an incredible synergy with the Stalker Bolt Rifle, and even the last few, so they'll get into shortly. But, you know, damage reduction when your armor is depleted, that's when you need it the most, and this gives you that for 15 seconds. Super good, and these other 3 perks here aren't super great at all. I've tried this perk before. It doesn't really do much for me at all, and really, Melta Bombs are primarily used at just blowing up, like, 2 or 3 Extremis, which they already do pretty well. Now, as far as weapons go, I say the best weapon for him overall is the Stalker Bolt Rifle, mainly because in Siege mode, you have to fight both Chaos and Tyranids, and this gun performs well against both of them without changing your perk loadouts, because unfortunately, you cannot change your perk loadout between loadouts, which I think really needs to be changed, but until that is changed at all, this is just the case for this game, that you have to pick one gun, and you have to build for like one type of gun, and if you want to build for like a last Fusel, you have to build into lethal efficiency if you want to get like the full, you know, ammo efficiency out of it. And really, this gun is not super ammo efficient even with that perk at times. And I think it's still pretty A tier. Some people might disagree with this, but last Fusel, I haven't seen this one taken into like the hardest runs for this game on Sniper in a bit, and that's mainly because these guns just do more. And as far as my perk setup goes, or the variant I pick, some people like rate of fire, but I just take the ammo capacity version, mainly because the magazine capacity being 18, having a higher magazine capacity on this gun is really, really important, because that lets you keep getting your contested HP back, and lets you put out more damage overall, and like, you know, because you're not always going to be consistently shooting your rate of fire variant from like one spot. You're going to be moving around all the time. So this magazine capacity version lets you get off more shots before you have to reload, and reloading does take a bit of time on this gun. There is no option like the bolt carbine has for like a gun strike reload. So with this gun, a magazine capacity really useful, ammo reserve capacity really useful, especially with versatile precision, because this is percentage based. So if we have a higher overall magazine capacity, or I should say ammo capacity, this gives us back more ammo. So this is really good, and this gun becomes incredibly ammo efficient with that perk. Now, as far as our perks go for this on the weapon perk tree, we just take Unwavering Resolve into Adamant Hunter, though Adamant Hunter is when your health is below 30%, headshots deal 25% more damage. This doesn't really proc all that much on Sniper, because you really don't go below 30% HP all that much, especially if you have a Vanguard in your team using his team perk to give you 30% HP on extremis kills, and that will be proccing all the time. So if you have that perk on your team whatsoever, this will just never occur, but it's still pretty good. 25% damage here feels like a base damage increase too, so it's pretty damn strong. It's pretty notable, but it doesn't proc all that often. Now here, Headhunter, more headshot damage, pretty self-explanatory. Same thing here, cleaving fire, shots will penetrate enemy block stances, dealing 25% of the usual damage. You know, block stance piercing can help you sometimes. Also, I should note that even if a sword warrior is blocking with their sword, you can just shoot them in like their head area, their head hitbox, even if all your shots are blocked, and you'll still get back your equipment recharge with Pattern of Excellence. That was kind of goofy, that's just how it works. And also, sword warriors are kind of assholes in this game. Now, again, Headhunter here, next perk, I'll take increased capacity because ammo. And again, Agile Hunter, after a perfectly timed dodge, headshots deal 35% more damage for 10 seconds. Damage is damage. This does proc pretty often. And then Fast Reload, mandatory perk to take, because we have to get to our recruitment here. Now, recruitment is the perk I want to talk about here the most, because killing a Majora's level or higher enemy with a headshot with this weapon restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. Now, this is some of the only armor regen this class has whatsoever, because, like, you know, if you look at this class, there really isn't anything here that says, oh, you get armor back. So your conviction proccing for 15 seconds, that's why it's like this, because you only have 2 armor on this class. And unlike the Vanguard that also has 2 armor, the Vanguard has 2 perks that give you armor restoration, so he doesn't really need like any extra benefit from something like a Stalker Bolt Rifle's armor or I should say its armor regen. But for Sniper, you can loop the 15-second cooldown of your Stalker Bolt Rifle here into your conviction over and over and over, and keep proccing your 25% health damage reduction. So it is really, really good, and really all this perk says is every 15 seconds after hitting a Majora's level or killing a Majora's level or higher enemy with a headshot, you get to take 0 damage for the next melee attack, and that's pretty damn good, because the way armor works in this game is any melee attack will do 0 damage. It doesn't matter if it's from a boss, does not matter if it is from an extremis, it will do 0 damage to you as long as you have 1 armor segment at minimum. Really, any armor whatsoever, not even 1 armor segment, just like even like a sliver of armor will take the damage down to 0. So that is really, really important, and that is the difference between having to use your purification or not. So I just take this all the time. Now, as far as bolt carbine goes, I do take this versus chaos pretty often, mainly because bolt carbine is like the most consistent HP, CHP regen, and by CHP I mean contested health HP, contested health, excuse me. And that just lets you get into the Chaos skies and survive things you otherwise couldn't. And really, when it comes to Chaos, this is the reason Assault struggles so much, is that contested health recovery, they do a lot of chip damage to you. They aren't like the Tyranids. Tyranids will hit you for big fat damage numbers. The Chaos guys will do that occasionally, but overall, it's mostly like ranged chip, so whatever lets you get back chip is really, really good. So that's why I take the bolt carbine. This is the setup we have here. And, you know, that's really my opinion on the sniper class outside of for, like, the primary weapons here. As far as your secondary weapon, heavy bolt pistol. Inferno pistol is pretty shit in this game. Bolt pistol might as well not exist. It is such an outclassed weapon by the heavy bolt pistol. And heavy bolt pistol ammo capacity version. This one just functions more for pattern of excellence. This one also gives you more opportunities to trigger your versatile precision. And that's why we take the ammo capacity variant, because ammo in this game is just pretty important. Even though it's a little bit less important in siege mode because you can buy ammo caches, I still take it here because it's just really, really important for the sniper class especially. Now, the knife here, a lot of people like fencing knife on this class. Fencing knife is just pretty strictly worse than the block knife, especially for sniper, because whatever downsides a block weapon has of like being unable to gun strike the enemy back to get your CHP back are kind of fixed by just having purification. And also without the block knife, your boss damage is pretty trash on this class, especially for multi-bosses, and there's really no way you're ever going to be able to dish out a proper cleave damage on multiple bosses compared to a block knife. That's why we build straight into Terminus damage here. Because Shadow Stab into Terminus Slayer, it's like, you know, you get 2 adrenaline charges on your block weapon, and then you just take the Shadow Stab, you go into Cloak, you proc your tactical ambush, and you will just absolutely chunk bosses. It's kind of disgusting how much damage you'll do with this, and this is your best boss damage overall. And block knife really is the best weapon overall on the sniper class, and this is also one of the only ways to get armor regen outside of your primary weapon with things like the armor recruitment here. And also, this is also on the last Fusel, so this is one of the only ways to actually do that. So, like, this weapon and your block knife adrenaline charges are your only ways to get armor back on your class here. You know, primary weapon, secondary weapon. That's pretty much it. Anyways, guys, that's my opinion on the sniper class. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully this helps you survive in the actual siege mode when it comes out if you haven't been playing it already. And really, sniper is just super OP. Well, not OP, but he is super strong in this mode, and he will really help your team out a ton. And once you learn to properly manage your cloak, because that's really all this class comes down to, is if you know how to properly manage your cloak and position yourself, you're just going to survive all the time. It is very, very hard to die as this class, because Purification and Emperor's Grace is one of the most powerful perk combos in this game. Anyways, if you like content like this, let me know in the comments below. If you like other perk combos or you want to see me use a different build setup, you can also post that in the comments below. I do read the comments for the most part. I have had my opinion changed on some things overall, but usually my opinions in this game just come from my personal experience playing in the true solo for this, and you know, I just try to take what I think is best, and I've tried a lot of the perk combo setups in this game. I just find this one took me the highest ways possible. This one does the most for your team overall, because you survive, you can get people up still, you don't even need Guardian Protocol, and you can also do a ton of boss damage. You can also blow up hordes. You pretty much just do it all yourself. And the main thing that will actually kill you on this class is the timer, though they did say they're going to fix the timer. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I want to say thank you to all my channel members. You guys really support me a ton. There's been a lot of you recently, and I really, really appreciate that. I'll try to get some members-only content out for you guys. And also, I will be streaming again pretty soon, so you can catch me there as well. As for everyone else, thanks for watching. As always, take it easy. Peace.